Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, one from physicist David Deutsch, that pretty much flips everything you think you know about progress completely on its head. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with a super simple question.
Now, really, I want you to think about this for a second. Why do you expect the sun to rise tomorrow? I mean, you're pretty certain it will, right? And the answer most of us jump to, well, it feels like the most obvious thing in the world.
Because it always has. Simple as that. We've seen it happen every single day, so of course we expect that pattern to just keep going. This whole way of thinking, learning from what's happened before, it feels like the foundation of, well, everything we know. But what if that whole foundation is cracked? What if it's just plain wrong? And that's where David Deutsch comes in with this wild idea. He says, we don't just get knowledge by looking at things. It's not like we're reading facts from some cosmic instruction manual. Nope. He says our minds are actually creating theories. They're just bold, creative guesses about how the world really ticks. So, here's the bottom line. This belief that the future is just going to be a rerun of the past, it's a massive misunderstanding. I mean, think about it. The future is often spectacularly different. And if you're only relying on what's happened before, that's a really shaky way to understand anything. Okay, so let's dig into this flawed way of knowing. We're going to take this whole idea apart, and I've got the perfect real-world example to do it. Check this out, it's such a great example. For 100 years, every single calendar started with 19-something, right? So if you were only going by past experience, you should have totally expected the year 2000 to start with a 19. But of course you didn't, nobody did. And why not? Because you had an explanation. You had a theory about how numbers and calendars work. You weren't just following a pattern, you were using an idea. All right, so if knowledge isn't just about the past repeating itself, where the heck does it come from? Well, the answer is all about the quality of our guesses, our theories. It's all about finding what Deutsch calls good explanations. So what makes an explanation good? Well, think of it like this. A good explanation is tight. It's specific. You can't just change a piece of it without the whole thing falling apart. It's hard to vary. A bad explanation is floppy and vague, like saying, oh, the gods did it. You can swap out which god or how they did it, and the explanation still kind of works. But a good explanation is rigid, and that rigidity is exactly what gives it its power. And this is where the magic happens. A truly good explanation has what's called reach. Take the theory that the Earth's axis is tilted. Okay, that was originally thought up just to explain why we have seasons. But get this, it also explains why the poles get 6 months of daylight, and why the sun rises at different times all over the world. It explains stuff its creators probably weren't even thinking about. It reaches out and explains more than it was built for. Now that is what real knowledge looks like. Okay, so now that we have this new tool, this new way of understanding knowledge, we can take on an even bigger, more pervasive myth. And that's the idea that we as humans are just insignificant. You've probably heard this before. It's called the principle of mediocrity. It's that idea that, there's nothing special about Earth, or our sun, or us. We're just a random accident on a speck of dust in a vast empty universe. And yeah, it sounds kind of humble and scientific, but Deutsch says that view completely misses the one thing that makes us totally unique. So let's put these two ideas side by side. On one hand, you have the idea that we're just chemical scum. But on the other hand, you have Deutsch's idea that we are universal constructors. And the huge difference between these two views has nothing to do with where we are in the universe or what we're made of. It's all about what our minds could do. Okay, hang on, because this concept is kind of a big deal. A universal constructor is something that can take basic stuff like atoms and energy, and if it has the right knowledge, turn them into anything else that's allowed by the laws of physics. A star can't do that. A black hole can't do that. But a human mind? Through knowledge, through technology, we can.
And this incredible power to literally reshape reality brings us to another popular idea that we need to, well, dismantle. I'm talking about the comfy, cozy metaphor of spaceship Earth.
You know the one I'm talking about. We all kind of love this image of our planet as spaceship Earth, this perfect, self-contained little life support system, floating through the hostile emptiness of space, giving us everything we need. It's a really nice thought, isn't it? The only problem is, it's totally wrong. I want you to just let this next idea sink in. This is Deutsch's claim, and it's a shocker. He says that the Earth's biosphere, on its own, is incapable of supporting human life. That without us, it isn't a cradle of life, it's a death trap. And here's why that's true. The natural world, The raw biosphere is full of things that want to kill us. Diseases, predators, droughts, floods, you name it. What actually keeps us alive isn't some magical, self-regulating biosphere. It's our knowledge. It's farming and medicine and sanitation and building shelters. We didn't just stumble upon a life support system. We had to build it, piece by piece, with our brains.
So, let's recap. We're not just passively soaking up knowledge from the past, and we're not living on some perfectly designed spaceship. So what does that actually mean for us, for our future? Well, this is where it all comes together, and what might be the most optimistic idea you've ever heard.
Now, at first glance, this is going to sound kind of negative, but stick with me. It's the total opposite. For any other species on this planet, a really big problem, one they can't solve, means they're gone. Extinction. But for us, for people, a problem isn't the end of the line. It's not a disaster. It's an opportunity. In fact, it's the starting line for all progress.
And this is the engine that drives everything. Think about it. We face a problem. We come up with some new knowledge to solve it. But that new solution, that new technology, it suddenly lets us see a whole new set of deeper, more interesting problems that were invisible before. It's not a hamster wheel of failure. It's more like an infinite staircase. And every single step we take up, we get a better, wider view of everything that's possible.
So here's the ultimate takeaway. There is no finish line. There's no final, perfect utopia waiting for us. Because as long as we exist, there will be problems to solve. And that means there's no end to progress. Our potential to create new knowledge, to come up with new explanations, is literally limitless. And that is what David Deutsch means when he talks about the beginning of infinity. We're not at the end of history. We are standing at the very beginning of a journey that never, ever has to end.
And that leaves us with one final, very personal thought. Progress isn't some force of nature that just happens to us. It's something that we make happen. It's what we do when we face a problem with creativity and a good explanation. So if problems are the fuel for this infinite engine, the only question left is, what problem are you going to solve next?